Hi everybody, this is the baseball highlight, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, the Hunter. Welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2. And hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So let's talk about Chris Russo basically wrecking all this joy that we felt over the last 12 hours, almost 24 hours since Pete Alonso broke the Mets all-time home run record that Darryl Strawberry's had since 1988. And you know, the thing is about Mad Dog Russo. He's a Giants fan, and San Francisco Giants fan. How did that ever happen with him living in New York is beyond me. But he hates the Mets, and he is back in March said that he will never root for them. But he's been like that on the air for all these years. Okay, now he said something, I guess, on ESPN and First Take, which is just a stupid show too. This is a complete total stupidity. I mean, they bring out Stephen A. Smith, who talks like the convict from In Living Color that Damon Wayans used to play, and they all say, all the media says, oh, he's got to run for president. Complete total stupidity. And now they drag the Mad Dog, who basically got fired from MLB Network. Let's be honest, he got fired. He got fired because the show was terrible. He had mailed it in, and they brought in that woman, Russo, knowing that he was ready to bolt out of there. And they fired him. They basically fired him. Nobody wants to talk about it, but he got fired. But he's been after the Mets for 35 years plus. He and his partner have been ripping the Mets for a long time. He's worse than Mike, to be honest with you. And I like Chris. He's very entertaining. He's fun, but he's completely off his mind, out of his mind in this situation, which he is most of the time. I would suggest that Russo stop eating the gummies, stop taking the pot. You're 60-something years old. You're coming out ridiculous. Coming across as really stupid. But this from Awful Announcing. Chris Russo goes full Mad Dog of a celebration of Pete Alonso's home run record. You can't even tell me what the home run record was before this nonsense. 252. Darryl Strawberry. I've mentioned this, and I heard this clip. I don't know who said this, because I don't watch this garbage. I'm usually working. But I heard that somebody ripped into Howard Johnson because they showed the top 5 home run placers in the Mets record, and they made fun of Howard Johnson. When Howard Johnson retired, I guess in 94, 93, 94, he had the most home runs by any switch hitter in the National League. That is nothing to sneeze at. He had over 200 home runs as a switch hitter. That is not something to sneeze at in the National League. And now, obviously, I guess Chipper Jones has that record now. But I didn't like that they belittled Hojo and belittled the numbers. We don't have a lot of stuff with the Mets because the Mets, especially on the offensive side, the Mets don't have any homegrown Hall of Famers. Okay, when it comes to the hitting side, we have Mike Piazza, but he came from the Dodgers. Darryl Strawberry didn't go in the Hall of Fame. Keith someday will be in the Hall of Fame, but he came from the Cardinals. He's not a homegrown Met. Pete's a homegrown Met. And when you are a guy that comes through the system, there is a link, and this goes for all teams, you have a link to the fan base. And he has a link to the Mets. And it showed last night how much that record meant to Pete. Because he was smiling around those bases. That's the biggest smile we've seen around here in a while. And, we know the Mets haven't played poorly, but that is a separate issue, okay? Let me read you the article. New York Mets are mired in a miserable stretch, having lost 31 of their last 50 games and fallen far behind the Philadelphia Phillies in the National League East. So when the franchise received a bright spot Tuesday in the form of Pete Alonso breaking the franchise home run record, it felt like something worth celebrating. It is totally within the bounds of celebrating. Don't tell that to Chris Mad Dog Russo, who lambasted the Mets, and announcer Gary Cohen. But treating Alonso's record-breaking homer like it mattered more than it did. It means everything to us. Again, he's not a Mets fan. He's a miserable San Francisco Giants fan. I cannot believe the big deal people are making about Pete Alonso being the franchise record holder now for home runs. He passed Darryl Strawberry last night, said Russo, launching into his rant on Wednesday's episode of First Take. Nobody in Metsville that I know a lot of Mets fans at the stretch in which they've lost 11 of 12 and have allowed the Phillies to bury them in the NL East. Now we're going to make a big deal about Alonso's home run. Mets are only 5 games back, with plenty of time. And the Mets are streaky as hell. We've seen this over the many years, especially on this channel, on the other channel. The Mets are very streaky. Russo then specifically called out play-by-play announcer Gary Cohen for going a little over the top for his call of the record-breaking home run. You can't even tell me what the home run record was before this nonsense, yelled Russo. This is ridiculous. I knew what the record was. Most Mets fans know what the record was. Russo revealed that his disdain for the celebration also stemmed from the fact that the team didn't seem to be in a rush to re-sign Alonso during their most recent contract negotiations, and ended his rant by calling out the team for doing a special celebration of Alonso before Thursday's game, extending the good vibes. It's going to happen tonight. It's going to happen already. This is not Henry Aaron against Al Downing, said Russo, completed his rant with a requisite reference to something that happened before most of the people watching. It's typical Russo. Just like I did a video on him, talking about Miller Huggins. New York-based sports media have been having a field day teeing off on the Mets and their fans in recent weeks. WFAN's Norman Esiason recently shredded slugger Juan Soto over his apparent lack of leadership, while Evan Roberts roasted fans for applauding an opposing pitcher's no-hit. I had no problem with that part. He was 1 out away from a no-hitter. You give him a good hand. But this is what they do at WFAN. This is what the abuse, folks. This kind of, and this is abuse, you know. We had a great moment. This is a historic moment for a franchise that hasn't had a lot of milestones in terms of offensive moments. This player is going to hit 300 home runs. I said last night in the video talking about Pete that all likelihood in 2027 he's going to hit 300 home runs. I think he'd hit 300 next year. He's only 46 away from 300. So he can hit 300 next year. That is an accomplishment. Being a team's home run leader is an accomplishment. Okay? There's nothing wrong with celebrating it. Absolutely nothing wrong. But this is the kind of abuse that New York fans have had to endure for nearly 40 years from people like this. Okay? I would also mention this. The mid-morning show is getting to the point now of ridiculousness. They were ripping the Mets for the last few days about the record, too, that it wasn't a big deal. And at some point, I'm going to have to deal with them personally because I don't like the sort of lying that Spaz Licata has been putting out there, saying that now he wants the Mets to sign him when for 2 years he was trying to run Pete out of town. So your host is getting really irritated now, and at some point, we're going to have to make a call. I'm going to have to make that call very soon. Because the way they've talked about him for all these years, and even as you know, I remember the day before the big home run against Devin Williams, they ripped him for falling out of the box, you know, in Milwaukee. And I had a major problem with that. And now the whole like 180 on this whole situation of he has to stay a Met. You know, your host has always been consistent when it comes to Pete Alonso and my Mets. Pete Alonso is a great player who should stay here. And I had no problem with the way the Mets treated him. I thought they treated him very fairly in the offseason. He's not at a premium position. He's not a shortstop. He's not a center fielder. He's a first baseman. We're going to have more contention with the contract. I think this will be less of a situation than it was last offseason. But I think Pete will be a Met. And I think he's going to be a Met next year. I don't see why not. And I think if he wins, this team comes back and wins the division, gets the post. You don't even have to win the division. Let's didn't win the division last year to get to 2 wins away from the World Series. You don't have to win the division. It's not that important. You know, it's really not that important at this point in time. But this is the kind of abuse that the mainstream sports media has put us through for 35 years as Mets fans. There's a reason why I have, on 3 channels, 10,000 subscribers. Okay? It's because people want to hear an alternative to this bullshit. And that's what this is. This is complete, total bullshit. And screamings of a pot-filled headed, nut job. And that's what we're talking about here with Russo. Russo has to stop eating the pot and stop, and clean himself up. Simple as that. He's a fun guy, but there comes a point where there's like, where's the fun here? So because the team, and this is also another thing they mentioned here, the team has struggled. So because the team has struggled, you can't celebrate an individual accomplishment? That doesn't make any sense. If this was the Giants, he'd be celebrating this. He'd be falling over himself for Pete Alonso. But he's not a Giant. If he was a Giant, it'd be a totally different attitude. And I would mention, of course, the Giants are terrible. Giants aren't going anywhere. Buster Posey doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Okay, we've kind of seen that now. After the first year of him as running the ball club out in San Francisco, they brought in Rafael Devers. The Red Sox have taken off, and he has not done much, since he got there at McCovey Cove. But again, for 30-something years, almost 40 years, us Met fans have had to endure our radio station, and this was the Mets radio station for a long time, where the hosts were abusing us, okay? And as far as I know that certain people online don't like them, and I know a lot of people don't like Mad Dog. They don't like these people, because there comes a point where enough is enough. We don't need them killing our fun, okay? Enough is enough. And I'm not going to, and again, like I said, I'll do videos on these people because they're ridiculous, A lot of them, their heads are a little too big for their, they're a little too big for their britches. And I'm going to have to deal with them personally very soon. I keep telling myself I'm going to do it, but I get busy, especially on my days off. But I'm going to have to deal with them personally at some point, because this has gotten to a point where they need to be put in their place. And who better than me, because no one else does this. No other channel and no other person online directly does videos on them in an amusing way, fun way. And they get so mad because I do it with my phone. But this is what we do here at the Baseball Hut too. And really the Baseball Hut, really whatever I do online. But you let me know what you think about this video. And of course, I want the Mets to be treated fairly. That's all I ever asked for. This is not fair. And again, Met fans have been abused by these sons of bitches for a long time now. And I'm not going to put up with it. So I know you folks don't like this stuff either. Well, thank you for watching this video. Of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut too. And I'll see you later.